Hey, good morning, familia. Lovely, lovely, lovely to see you. Lovely to see you, darlings. Come on, darlings. Pop on, darlings. Let's have a few darlings. Come on, quickly. It's Sunday. It is the 24th of May, 2020. Yeah, how we doing? 3 on already. Sweet, that's quick, man. What's going on? This is fantastic. Let me just share this out. Hopefully we'll have a nice little stream up this morning. Golden guest. Hello, Gorge. Patriot home morning. Hello, sweetheart. How are you getting these notifications? Does it just ping up on your screen, or are you sat on YouTube anyway? Because that happened really quick. So you guys leapt in really quick. So it'd be interesting to, how do you get the notifications? If you could just put that in the comments. Let me just share this out. I'm still sort of, I'll tell you what, yesterday it just pinged up. Oh, sure it did, love. Yesterday, a few of the decent folks decided to descend on New Scotland Yard to deliver some paperwork of sedition and treason, and it's happening. It's been happening for a long time. Metropolitan Police are just the biggest gang in the country. That's all they are. They're just a gang. They're quite wicked, really. But they just go home. Now, whatever's happening with this lockup, I think now it's come down to ownership. Shared on VK, I'll get a notification from that pop. Oh, sweet. I don't know if I can share this on VK. Let me just have a quick butchers. Let's have a look. Just bear with me, people. Let's have a look more. Let's see if VK comes up. VK coming up? No, VK's not coming up. I can copy the link now. And let's just copy the link and then share it to VK. Hopefully this stream will be a bit better this morning. So, yeah, Gary Clark, Nathan Kirkton, all great souls, by the way, all just fantastic people. Amanda Verndon, amazing woman. Went up to London yesterday to deliver this stuff to New Scotland Yard. And it took them quite a bit of energy. Gary don't live local to London. He lives quite a way away. And the police, they're just thugs, people. But the problem with it is, it's not just the fact that they're thugs. They've claimed to own it all now. They own everything. They own the roads, the streets, this, that, the other. They own it all. Because only through ownership can you do that, what they've done. Everyone was born has got God-given unalienable rights, right? Is that what, or does that not crack on no more? Do we not all have God-given unalienable rights? That's all what the founding fathers of America based everything on. That was the first part of their Declaration of Independence and their Constitution, that every man is born with unalienable rights. And unalienable means they can't be taken away, and they can't even be questioned because it's a given. All right, you can't go into court and question unalienable rights. That's just a given. So the Met Police stopped them yesterday, coming out in force, and told them to go home. Like Gary and Nathan and all the others were just naughty school children. And you should be outraged. You should be outraged. You really should be. We can make all excuses for these people. We can call them common purpose police. We can call them everything. But they are just thugs. And the reason why all this is happening is because this country has been disarmed. All right? and they've become the majority of the force holders. They have all the weapons, the chains, the dips, the beads. You know my fiercest on all this. But it makes them just fascist bully boys. Unbelievable. Nathan and Gary and and Tracy Blackwell did what they did yesterday with honour, respect and integrity. They arrested Nathan and dragged him to one side. It's Gestapo tactics, people. Now, the problem is you can turn a blind eye. You can turn the other cheek. That's your prerogative. You really can. You can go, oh, no, I'm not listening to this. I'm going to walk the other way. I'm not paying attention to what this man's saying. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine because that's your prerogative. You can do that. But I just question what we're allowing for future generations and the kids of today. What are we allowing to manifest? We should really be careful with what's going on here, people. The Metropolitan Police, as far as I'm concerned, are just a dark cult. They absolutely love inflicting violence on people, and they don't question it. Last Saturday at Hyde Park, they snapped a man's hip. They leapt on. He was already on the ground. He was immobilised. He'd already had a good lashing of a taser. A good thorough lashing of a taser. Like the cat of nine tails. This Metropolitan Police couple was not happy with just the taser in. He, as this man was sat on the floor, he leapt down on him with the full force of his knee and his body weight, and he snapped this man's hip. Snapped it. Okay, now that could be any of you. That could be any of you tuning in right now. That could be any of you. You decide that you don't wish to toe the state party line, and why would you? You have the free will to make your own minds up and your own decisions. Otherwise, you're all owned by the state. Are you owned by the state? Does it outrage you to feel that the state claims ownership over your body and soul? It does me. You best believe it. I cannot be owned by any man. No. So that's what they do. They claim to own you all. And their arrogance is, well, we're just going to crack on regardless. You should not have to toe a state party line, ladies and gentlemen. You have God-given unalienable rights, guaranteed by the Creator. And here the Met Police are abusing and acting criminally. They're the criminals, not the people going out and protesting. They're not the people going out. The people going out and doing what they want to do. Beaches now, I've just seen the beaches are all being segregated. They've all got big wooden posts and big rope lines. And bitches, you're going to stay within them 2 meters. If you move, you're going to get the Gestapo come down. And if you think this is ending anytime soon, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, you are deluded. This is fallen right into the hands of the establishment. They love this. Boris Johnson couldn't wait to get you into lockdown or lock-up, whatever you want to call it. I remember him one day saying, oh, people are, they're not observing this social distancing rule. It's just a rule. It's just a wish. And we may have to consider putting you all into lockdown. We don't want to do it. We don't want to do it. No, we don't. We don't want to do it. And the very next day I said to my mum, you watch what happens tomorrow, mum. I bet he comes on the old goggle box and says, right, that's it. Fuckers, you're all in lockdown. Excuse my French. I shan't use that no more. No, she said he won't do that. I said, just mark my words. He's put the bait out. He's baited everyone up today. No one's going to pay attention. No one's going to care. And what did he do the following day? Right. No one's paying attention. This all happened within 12 hours, by the way. You're all going on lockdown. You ain't leaving your houses. You ain't getting the trains. You ain't getting the buses unless you're essential travel. Can someone please explain to me what essential travel is? unless you're a key worker. What, we've gone back to the papers, the old German Gestapo. You're only allowed out if you're a key worker. If the Bosch say that you're allowed to go out, you're allowed out. This copper the other day in Wales, he's asking this Polish lad on the train station for identification. And I carry this with me everywhere, and I'm going to get into the nuts and bolts of that in a second, right? And this guy said, well, my name's Patrick, talking in a Polish voice. He sounded Polish. He was Eastern European. And he said, well, all right, Patrick, well, where you go? I need to see some identification. Hand a hock, Achtung, bitte, Schnell and all that. We've been here before, people. We've been here before in history. I tell you, you really need to be paying attention right now. God's given me this voice to do this, to say to you, whoa, ease up. The state's not an authority. The state's a public servant, right? So he says, well, my name's Patrick. He said, well, where are you going? He says, only essential travel. He said, well, I work for Deliveroo. I'm going to work so people can get their pizzas, their chicken nuggets and all that other great stuff that they love to get down their gullets. No, I'm not letting you travel today. No, you ain't satisfied me with the papers. Give me the papers. No time was this guy anything other than polite, courteous and respectful. And the last straw was when his train was being held at the station by 3 of Great Western Railway's pathetic staff that wouldn't know natural rights if it jumped up and bit him square in the balls. This cop has drawn his weapon and said, I will use force if necessary. I'm sure you will, Constable. I'm sure you will. Why? Because you love it. You love using the force. You can't get enough of that stuff. It's like Paco Rabanne. It's like smacking it on. Evil, twisted people. So he denied him. He couldn't go to work. He might have got the sack. You can only travel if you is essential key workers. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, you're 9 weeks into this shit now. You think this is ending anytime soon? You got another thing coming. They've crashed this country, by the way. The amount of businesses that have gone out of business, and I'm not particularly worried about that because I think it's a natural reset. I think this is God's way of resetting everything. I really do. But the devastation and the disparity that the state. I wouldn't let Boris Johnson and his lot make me a chocolate teapot. I really, really mean that. I wouldn't. And they're just evil people. They really are. So this guy's, he's probably got the sack, can't work. I just think all this has got to stop. What is an essential worker? How do you define it? It's someone that gets a piece of paper from a corporation, right? That says, my missus got one in her car. She works for a vet. Oh, she works for a vet nurse. Yeah, oh yeah, she's an essential worker. She can travel. That's like going back to the Third Reich, people. That really is like going back to Nazi Germany. I have a piece of paper which allows me to travel. Mate, everyone's essential in this world. All men are created equal. And you gorgeous ladies. Boris has millions invested in these vaccine companies. Yeah, he proper does. They all do. Pharmaceutical industry, for me, has killed more people than the pharmaceutical industry is just a devastation, isn't it? It really is. It just masks symptoms. It doesn't cure. Pharmaceuticals don't cure. Not a chance. Because chemicals don't assimilate with the body. Anyway, so when this cop was asking for identification, and this is just still a piece of paper, and I think a man's words speaks louder than paper, and we're just operating in a world of paper now. Show me your papers. Well, what does a piece of paper prove in any case? What does it prove? That you are a government-owned slave, right? Yeah? That's why Prince years ago, you remember that gorgeous singer called Prince, who became Symbol? He got so miffed by his record label that I think eventually he freed himself up from that and went on his own and got his own record label going. I think that's what Prince did. But he used to go on stage in the 80s and 90s, didn't he? And have slave tattooed across his forehead, and he'd be on stage. And you could see he was aggrieved with having to do that. But he did it nonetheless. And fair play to him and kudos to him. And Prince, actually, if you go and listen to one of his very last interviews that he did, I can't think who the host was, but Prince said, what he noticed was that there was all these things being sprayed in the sky. Now, my brother loves Prince. Adores Prince. And I think Prince is a fantastic artist. I mean, Purple Rain and that's just amazing. But I know my brother won't listen to that interview and take it in. His brain he won't allow it to enter his psyche because he don't believe that government would harm anybody. He seems to think they're all sweetness and light. But hopefully at some point he'll get his wake-up call like everyone else is. And Prince said to this guy, he said, I noticed all these things were being sprayed in the sky, big lines going across the sky. He said, and I noticed everyone started getting angry and bitter and horrible. He said, it was never like that. He said, no, I don't know quite what's going on. And then he passed away a few months later. Michael Jackson come out publicly and called Tommy Tomola from Sony Labels a devil. He said Tommy Tomola is a devil. Next thing, Michael's gone. Whitney Houston found in a bath, dead, couldn't get out. She was just to blow the whistle on certain things within the Hollywood and that arena. Kanye West, a few years ago, jumped up on stage and come out in all these revelations about 2-3 years ago. Next thing, he's whacked in a mental institution because you're not allowed to think outside the box, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you, you can't think outside of anything that government tells you must do. If you question government and question their authority, they fucking nut you off. You're slapped in the slammer. And you've got to have a psychological assessment. What is that psychological assessment all round? It's all about getting you back in that postage stamp mentality. It's all about getting you back inside that box and saying government is king, government rules, government owns my body, government is God. All right? And then if you decide to do that and bend over and take one for the team, Bob's your uncle. You're not allowed to think on your feet no more. You're not allowed to be your own man or your own woman. You're not allowed to. They will quickly snap you back into that box and make you have it. And hard too. That guy got his hip broken last Saturday. This is what I carry. Wherever I'm going anywhere, I carry my sacred sovereign decree. All right? This is all in the Christ consciousness. If I'm out on the road, anyone, have you got any ID? Yes, I have. Here you go. Bob. And I give it to him. Go, have a nice day. Thank you. See you later. Have a nice day. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to put some information out there because I want you all to come home, right? I want you all to come home to the truth of how this universe works. And I want you all to do this with honour and dignity and respect like men and women should do. Morning, blokey. Hello, Ed. Nice to see you, Eddie Goldtooth. Let me tell you, me and Ed go back a while. Oh, yeah. Man's a legend. Let me tell you, Eddie Goldtooth is a proper legend. He's proper on it, ain't you, Ed? Love you for it, too. Be careful of the language. People, Dave has been struck off. Yeah, mind you, I've had a few little swear words this morning. As Harry said, they contracted overheads with babies at the time. Contract surely, birth certificate. Couldn't be held on us. What does that stand? Yeah, it doesn't. So what we have to do is, ladies and gentlemen, is there's a couple of things you can do, right? Now, boys, if you remember when you was kids, prior to the age of 7, whenever your mum and dad used to call you or anyone wrote to you and sent you a lovely little birthday card or whatever, I can remember mine. I can remember. It used to say Master David. And I was like, oh, did you say Master? Yes. So Master Master David was Master David. You've got masters up in the Royal Courts of Justice, and they are devils. Trust me, they are peculiar people. And at the age of 7, that all stopped. And I used to look around going, I was Master David last year. What's happening now? I'm just a pleb. All that finery stopped. Master, Mr is an analogy for master. It's a shortening down, an abbreviation of master. So whenever you get any of these corporations to write to you, and they write to Mr, a good thing to do is to correct them straight away and say, listen, you're causing me offence by addressing me as that. And we know that titles are dangerous in any case. And the Bible tells you all about titles. But just say, right as master. They don't want to hear that word in a courtroom. They do not want to hear that word in a courtroom when they go, Mr. No, master. What do you mean, master? Isn't Mr. an abbreviation of master? Well, yes, it is. Well, yeah, address me properly then. Master David. They don't like that. But what we found is over the last few years that there's a few things that you can do to set the record straight. Now, the system operates on a presumption only that you require their administration, because you always have the free will to say no and to come away. So there's a form on Google or DuckDuckGo, whichever your favorite platform is, that you can go and get and download. It's called an evidence of life form. It's a form 206. Now, what you have to do with that evidence of life form is take it to your local doctor, because the doctor is someone that signs you into this world and signs you out of the world, all right? He's the governor. The doctor pretty much is the governor. He's an officer of the court, and that's how it is. And I was with a doctor a few months ago, a Nigerian guy. I'm not going to say his name. I was picking out a load of solar panels because his wife runs this solar panel thing. And I was telling him all this stuff and showing him my paper, and he looked at me and went, wow, how do you know all this? I said, well, because I'm not stupid. And I said to him, do you know all about this, about the SES-KV and all that? He who lives. SES-KV means he who lives. And he went, yeah, of course I do. He said, we're trained all this in our doctor's thing. He said, we know that everyone's walled estates and immature and children and this, that. I went, whoa. So you as a doctor get taught all about the Sedekay Trust? He went, yeah, you best believe. I was like, my word. And my little cockles of my heart started to warm up. So how do we set the record straight and stop all this presumption? You do your Form 206 evidence of life. You take it to your doctor. You get your doctor just to put his stamp. Most doctors have stamps, and they'll probably sign it as well or autograph it, whatever you want. There's two different things you can do. You can sign in nature. That's what signature means. It means sign in nature. Or you can do by, BY, semicolon, and put your name. That's an autograph. Whenever you see an actor, you ask for their autograph, right? You don't ask for their sign in nature. You don't ask for their signature, do you? Because they look at you and go, weirdo. You ask there for their autograph, and that's what you should be doing. You should put in your autograph. Only living men and women can autograph things, right? So you do your evidence of life, Form 206. You do a thing called an ecclesiastical deed poll, D-E-E-D, deed poll. And all you do with the deed poll, people, I want to show you something right here and right now, which is your power. See these two? Yeah, these are your power. Okay. And that's why the police love breaking your thumbs and putting you down there and getting you to, we'll have your print, sunshine. Yeah, why? Because it identifies the living in their dead system, right? But it's a double-edged sword, because we use these, and whenever we do documents within ourselves, we put that at the bottom left, that at the bottom right, and we print it in red ink, all right? We roll our thumbs on the bottom, and inside that thumbprint, you write seal. That's your great seal, right? So with your ecclesiastical deed poll, that's exactly what you do. You do your deed poll, you put that print that side, that print that side, inside it you write seal. Take them two documents down to your local courtroom. Don't go to Crown Court, you're going to struggle there. Go to one of these lower things. Go to the filing section, right? Take copies. Go in there. Show them the original. Give them the copies, which are exactly the same. Get them to stamp the copies. and they keep a copy and they stamp one and give you one back. You don't do the original. The original stays clean, right? Because that's your original deed. You don't disfigure that one. But the copies you do. And they keep a copy and you keep a copy and you keep it at home in your own chancery. We always used to keep our own chanceries, right? Because chanceries, our own little chanceries used to prove ownership of stuff. When we was all private, when we was all living by biblical law, which wasn't that long ago, 100 years ago, we was all living by the scripture. We was all living with private family Bibles. We was all keeping our property in them Bibles. It's only when we went for this socialistic Russian, German state political system that we got bent over, and we got bent over royally, trust me. So the way we get out of that is all titles. Absolutely right, Stephen Downs. So you do your ecclesiastical deed poll, you do your evidence of life 206. You don't need no witnesses on your deed poll because your thumbprint and you write seal inside there. That's your great seal, right? Because that's how a man identifies himself. That's what we used to do years ago. Thumbprints, this, that, the other. And then you just go to your court, you file them in. Now, what happens with that is you've dropped all the presumptions because the ecclesiastical deed poll is basically you're giving them back their stuff, but you're asking forgiveness to the Creator for you turning your back on His majesty and greatness. You whack them two things in your lower court, they get put on what they call your master file, and that goes around all the courts in the country. So then you become king again, you become queen again, you become the greatness that you were supposed to be. Because these people are only working on a presumption, right? They're working on a dead decedent estate, and that's all they're doing. Because there's no evidence of life. There's no evidence of life. And once you've done the two, your 206, the deed poll, whack them in, watch the magic happen. You'll find that the police will leave you alone. You'll find that you'll start getting reverence and respect as you should be. We're here to change the world, ladies and gentlemen, whether you like it or you're not. That's what we're here for, and we need to do this. Trevor Good, Boris is a puppet. Go on, Trev. I'm loving that. Stevie Down. Hello, Dave. Hello, Steve. Lovely to see you, mate. Thanks for popping in. Message deleted. Righto. For the swearing. I can and I will. Good man. Eddie Goldtooth. Oh, big love, Ed. Noisy Tone. Eddie, long time no see. Yeah, Eddie and Tony know each other. Beautiful, beautiful. I was at an eviction with Eddie quite a few years ago down at Dartford. And I've met Eddie quite a few times. He's just a lovely, proper dude. He was sat in his flat one day and he see this, like when they use rifle. This is how your police forces perform. And all these covert MI6 are all idiots. They're all devils. He was sat in his flat, and all of a sudden, like the laser point that comes, he sat in his flat and it started hitting his body from somewhere in the distance. And he thought, oh dear. They were pointing targets at him just to give him a bit of a warning, saying we'll take you out at any point. Evil, 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 evil people. So I met Eddie. A guy called John got evicted from his home. And the police, Kent police, were shambolic. I stood there and I watched all these coppers at the front door, and this sergeant was there with his big chest, probably on steroids, got a very small willy. He's like looking man like Lord of the Mountains. I'm the governor here. Made me feel ill, made me want to be sick, actually, because of the tyranny that was involved. So like I say, we're defenceless. These are the fuckers with the weapons, excuse my French. All words that I use here today are defined in the dictionaries. If you want clarification and dissemination of the words, I can give them to you. And they left John standing in the middle of the street in just the clothes he had on and took his hats off of him. A nation of slaves run by wolves, owned by pigs. That's what this country is. And it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And they've got us in a Hunger Games situation right now. And it's got to stop. It really has got to stop. And but the thing was, although that day the battle was lost, the war was won, because John then spent several months going through the courts to obtain his equity. And in point of fact, he took settlement from the draconian state system in far greaterness than he lost. So he did win that war in the end, but he went through due process. And you have to force due process. The courts are tyrannical. We have some real tyrannical people in this country. We've got one judge in Maidstone called Susan Sullivan. And lo and behold, Susan Sullivan, she sits in on a lot of bankruptcies, you know. When people's houses are being taken, she sits on them. And guess what Susan Sullivan's got? We've done some digging into Susan Sullivan, Judge Susan Sullivan. She owns a property portfolio company. And guess where the majority of them properties disappear to? You've got it. They go into Judge Susan Sullivan's portfolio. They're gangsters, people. They're thugs. They're evil. They're proper tyrannous and evil. If you go around in the notion that these courts are decent and they're decent people and then they're worthy to now, then you're deluded and you need to dig your head out your backside, because that's where it firmly is fixed, let me tell you. And they have Rottweilers, these courts. This Susan Sullivan, she sits up there as though her crap don't stink. She don't get her hands dirty. She gets her Rottweilers to get their hands dirty and go and steal property by force. But more and more people are now taking their properties back. I know several people that have had their properties stolen by the state. They took them back. And the state have said, there's no point in us, because if you're going to do that, this is just going to keep going round and round and round. I know quite a few people that have one of my friends lives out on one of the islands in Kent, and he had quite a few coppers come in through his front door. The sergeant tased him in his own house, beat him up in the middle of the floor while all the others were kicking him and punching him. Guys, it's time to wake up to this. It's time to wake up to the tyranny, because you're being smashed left, right and centre. And the problem is why people are being smashed, because they can't see a way out. They don't know how this is all happening. People fail to realise how all this tyranny is taking place. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to try and educate people into how all this is taking place, right? Now, how this all takes place is because you sign on the dotted line. You sign the contracts. You sign the mortgage applications. You give power of attorney to others to administer your worldly affairs. But the problem is, once you get the evidence of life and you do all these other bits and bobs, these two things, and you send them off and get them on your master file, then send them into the HMRC, into their trust departments, you watch what happens. All of a sudden, the estate has to be, made proper again. It has to be revested, because he who lives, the SESKV, that's what it's all about. Once a man or a woman proves life, and that's what these two documents do, the ecclesiastical deed poll and the evidence of life, the titles have to be revested, all right? A bit like when you was called master when you were 7, all right? Because your title hadn't been taken away from you. You was a master when you was a young boy, and your parents were given 7 years to claim back and undo the wrong that they did by enslaving you into this socialistic system. What about the bloke with a parrot? He did. He took his house back. And they've now said that they won't come near him because it's fruitless. I mean, unless what they're going to do, bring the army in. And what a lot of these people are doing, which is pretty genius, is probably not nice living in there. But when they go in and take the homes, they put all these big steel shutters up. They put the big steel windows up. And obviously it's like living in a rabbit hutch. But the majority of people that are taking their homes back go back and live in there, and they leave them big doors in. They take the windows out because they don't like breaking all the glass and stuff. And they normally have to come in through the windows. Now, here's the thing, right? It is enshrined in their law that nothing in this country can be taken by force. All right? So if that be the case, and they are doing this, it can only be that the trust that we'll set up with them has been misconstrued. That they're administrating a trust because they think that they have power of attorney. That's the only reason that all this is happening. They deem power of attorney over your cars, your homes, your children, because you've got an abandoned estate. Does it make sense? Does all this making sense? Does this make sense? Yeah. So once you correct the record and you do the evidence of life and the ecclesiastical deed poll, which is you're asking God's forgiveness for you turning your back on him and what he gave you, your inheritance. Once you've done them two things, you've done it in clean hands in equity, and you give them back their, it has to be set straight, and they can't come near you unless obviously you do something stupid, because the title has to be revested. And how do you do that? You hold their hands to the fire and say, look, hang on a minute, I've proved life. Your evidence of life, which means SKV means he who lives, says it has to be revested. This is your own legislation. I'm going to hold your hands to the fire because that's your law, not my law. So revest the title, bitches, and we can all move on. That's why I carry the sovereign decree, because it's all done in Christ consciousness, and Christ said, only in my name are you saved. And it's true. It is the truth. And people, you can turn away from it all you like, but you're just bringing your own misery. And that's the truth. You're just bringing your own misery, you know. So anyway, good mornings to you, lovelies. It's nice to see you all. Mark Busby, cognitive dissonance. Yeah, it is. So many people, but that's got to stop, because let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this ain't going away anywhere soon. It's not. You've got a couple of years of this. What's the country going to be like in 2 years' time if this so-called lockdown and measures and distancing and not allowed within 2 meters of each other? People leaping into freezing Lidls when you go in there and sneeze. We know these masks are a waste of time, complete nonsense. All these gloves. We know that a virus doesn't pay attention to any sort of glove or hazmat suit. And for me, it's all a big swindle, because I remember the first lot of people with coronavirus allegedly coming into the country from China on that big 747. I was in London drinking with Tony Tone, and we saw them get on the coaches, the four horsemen. All these coaches were accompanied by horsemen travel. And we see the drivers of these coaches with nothing but a seatbelt on. They weren't even wearing condoms, ladies and gentlemen. So I thought to myself, it's something not right here, because if there was a deadly killer virus and the driver got a phone call and said, we've got something a bit tasty coming up here, son. We'll pay you overtime. Yeah, Kushti, going to keep your brassed up. Fantastic. What we're doing? Well, we've got a load of people coming in from China with a deadly killer virus, and we need you to take them to quarantine because they're dogs and seals. They need to go into quarantine because they're just filthy rugrats, right? Oh, yeah. Well, has it kill you? Well, you can't see it coming. You just have a little breathe in, and Bob's your uncle, gets on your lungs, and within about a week or two, you're going to be on a respirator, and you're not going to pull through. And then you're going to go off in a little bag to the incinerator, and that would be the end of you. Well, no, them drivers wouldn't have done that. And the old Bill wouldn't be doing what they're doing. Them old Bill wouldn't be all in them stations together, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you, they would turn up to work with their distancing. They would go about and just walk the little sectors they have to do on their own, being very mindful of the contact. No, don't come near. Trust me, if there was a killer disease and you went running towards a copper, it'd be running, leave me alone, don't come near. They would. If it was a proper killer disease, they'd be running from you, because that suit and armour that they wear is not protecting them from a little killer virus. It's a nonsense. But now you can't go on the beaches. The kids have got to go to schools and stay within hula hoops on the floor. God dear. Do you know, when I read 1984, many years ago, by George Orwell, Eric Blair, I read it in 1984, right, at school. And we read it in the summer of 1984. And our old class, we took, I don't know how long it took to read this book, and we all read separate elements of this book, separate sections of it. The teacher would go, right, you read the next 5 lines, and then she was quite cute, Miss Gaines, to be fair. She had a beautiful Alfa Romeo. I remember used to walking out. I had a bit of a fetish for it. You know what kids are like? You get fetish. And she used to be parked up out on the road when you were free to park. And I used to rub the old bonnet, think, oh, Miss Gaines drives this. I did. She was just something else. So anyway, she used to tell me, concentrate, we just stop looking at my legs. You keep putting them out there. I'm going to look. Do you know what I mean? So we'd all read separate things, but we come to the conclusion after we'd read this book, and she was asking all these questions. Hey, what do you think of this part? We'd all go, it's a fiction. It ain't never happening. And we laughed about it with confidence. We laughed, right? We really did. And now we're living in George Orwell's 1984, Eric Blair's 1984, the state INSOC. Everyone was INSOC, INSOC. And everyone that didn't believe in INSOC, you had to go to the bin, man, and the wrath was on you. And look at people in the supermarkets, yeah, screaming at people without marks. They're all INSOC, yeah, INSOC. Whoa, the government, they're going to save us. I tell you, it's tough to witness. It is really tough to witness. But in a jovial way, when I've been out and about and come across people like that, I just stand there laughing. I just say, have a look at this. Have a word, son. What are you doing? What are you playing at? Luckily, most people that I have contact with in work, that I go out and work for, they know me. They know what I'm like, so they know what to expect. They know that I ain't gonna tolerate no nonsense. And it is a nonsense, because these masks are not going to protect you from any little bug, any virus, people. Not a chance. Not a chance. You are wasting your money. And most of these masks have been knocked up in all these foreign countries, been kicking and rolling around the floor in these third world nations. And you put them on your face, so Lord knows what's on them in the first place. They're certainly not sanitized. All these hand sanitizers. We went golfing last week, and this guy says, your scorecards are there. He said, there's some hand sanitizer, put it on. I went, well, what are you telling him what to do? He went, well, it's just an advisory. I said, it might be an advisory, but you don't tell me to put hand sanitizer on, sunshine. I said, I'll wash my hands with soap and water. He said, well, what are you scared of? I said, that's got alcohol in it. I said, that's going to get through the epidermis and my natural oils on my hand and get into my bloodstream. I said, no, thank you. He went, ooh. I thought, you can go, woo, but no one tells me to do anything. No copper, no judge, none of them. We should tell them what to do, right? Because we're the sovereign people of this nation, and we're walking around now like we're children, and we just can't wait for Daddy Boris to give us a little slap on the bum and pull our pants up for us. Well, Boris says we might be allowed out next week. Well, I didn't know Boris was in control of this virus. I didn't know Boris knew when it weren't potent anymore. Boris must be a very clever man. That's all I'm saying. I was made to study Ben Franklin way, and ended up studying him again for real. Craig Baxter. Hello, Craigie. Nice to see you. Eddie Goldtooth. I've been socially distancing for years now. Absolutely right. Keeping away from the undesirables or for the old Bill and general idiots. Mate, Eddie, bless you. Yeah, that's where I'm at. INSOC. The government say we've got to do this. It's okay. Boris has said the virus ain't going to get us no more. It's done a runner. And everyone would be out, wouldn't they? Straight back to normal. Everyone would be at my golf course round the corner's open. There was thousands of people around there yesterday. And the day before I went round there, and bless her, one of the ladies that runs a golf course, she had 2 new people that had joined to just start learning how to play. I've played golf for years, and I'm a low handicapper. And I walked around, I went, ooh. And she went, oh, she said, if I'd known you was coming round, she said, you could have showed them how to swing the club. I said, I'm not getting involved, mate. I said, you're doing all right. You crack on. These two, this man and wife, whether they would join him for a dogging thing, I don't know. Maybe they'll creep round there one night when no one's about, dusk coming down, and get their clubs out and they go for a little bit of kissing and cuddling the wooded bit there. Who knows? Maybe they've just come to start getting on that old dogging lark. It was funny. We was at golf last week, actually. I play at a little course called Tenterton. And this woman's walking her Dalmatian, and she's quite frightfully posh. And as she's crept off, she said, "I'm just walking my dog. It's okay." And I said, "It's all right, love." I said, "Are you going dogging?" And she just chuckled. She just went, and off she went with her dog. And then we let her get away in the distance. And my mate that I'm playing with, he's pulled this ball, and it almost hit her. I'm like, "Oh, God's sake!" But it's funny. It's all nonsense, Dave. Mask, social distance, all put. Look. Masks ain't going to protect you. Masks are doing you far more damage than you know what to do with. You breathe in, and the stuff that you're expelling, you don't want that back in your body. You don't want that back in your body, ladies and gentlemen. You're breathing out the badness. Your body's breathing in the goodness, and you're exfoliating all the bad stuff. And when you've got a mask on, guess what? You're breathing all that nastiness back in. And I'll guarantee you, if you was to wear a mask solid for a week or two and absolutely do that, you're going to be very ill. Very, very ill indeed. But it's the INSOC, the George Orwell, Boris says, Matt Hancock says, it's that TV. Everyone's worshipping that TV. Boris said, and then people say, "Oh, don't talk so stupid. They'd never harm us. They're looking after us." Very dangerous games you're all playing. Very dangerous game. Hypoxia. Absolutely. It's hypoxia. You're breathing that back in. Your body's trying to get rid of that. Inhale. Exhale. Now, we did some Wim Hof breathing exercises a few months ago. There was about 30 of us in the room, and we all laid down and we were doing this Wim Hof breathing exercise. Now, Wim Hof is the Iceman, and we were doing these very deep breathing exercises. And I promise you, right, I'd done no training for this. Chico Time was there. We had Chico there, and he was doing it with us. You breathe in, you breathe out, you breathe in, you breathe out. And then all of a sudden, Wim in this podcast says, "Hold your breath." And we held our breath. I held my breath for 4 minutes. And I didn't feel like I needed to exhale because I'd taken so much oxygen into my body, into my bloodstream, that my body wasn't going, "You need to breathe." I'm laying there thinking, bloody hell, this is what is the body's an amazing thing, ladies and gentlemen. But your body should be your body. You should have control over your body. You should dictate what happens to your body. It's your vessel. God give you that vessel to be free. He didn't give it to you to be controlled by a socialistic bunch of narcissists. There's a great song many years ago by Funboy Free called "The Lunatics Are Running the Asylum." And I'll guarantee you they proper are. Eddie Goldtooth, my good buddy that's in here right now, and I met this guy years ago. What was his name, Ed? Perhaps you can whack it up in the comments. Ponytail, wasn't he? Lovely geezer. I'm not too sure whether him and you are still sort of pally and see too much of each other anymore. But he was running a scrap dealer business, right? Over the other side, I think, the other side of the water, in Essex somewhere. Maybe I'm wrong. It might have been Kent. Because the government wanted him to sign up to all this stuff and he wanted only to deal in cash, which is his God-given right, they sent some police people down, right? And they used an angle grinder to get into his metal container, and he had his head up against the side and they could see him. And if he hadn't moved, they'd have cut into his head. And then when they finally got into that, they tased him. They tased him in his own premises, all because he wouldn't go cashless and do back transfers, and he wanted to stay with cash. They come in and beat the bejesus out of him. And he was a lump. He weren't no small geezer. And they smashed him. They're evil. Trust me, the corporations that are running this right now, they're satanic. I'll make no bones about it. But the thing is, they never really used to be. They never used to be. Deb Starr. She's saying, Debbie Starr, beautiful woman. Morning, Dave. I read somewhere yesterday that anyone with lung problems should not wear a mask. There you go. Bless your heart, darling. Nice to see you. It's all a nonsense, Dave. Mask, socially distancing, all stupid, and people are buying into it. INSOC, isn't it? INSOC, that TV locks you in. If you're watching the BBC News, peeps, you're doomed. You're doomed to failure. You're going down. If you believe the dribble that propaganda machine pumps out, well, God knows. Cockney Patriot, oi, Saveloy. They're making everyone unemployed, reliant on benefits. Absolutely. They're going to make it mandatory to have vaccines or benefits. Boris has millions invested in vaccine companies. Also, that nonce looking twat Hancock. Amen, he does. This is it now. The New World Order is out in full view, people. It's hidden the shadows for quite a long time and just, oh, yeah, we are kind of doing stuff we're not now. That's it. It's in full view. And if you think this is going back to normal, your kids are going to have to go to schools, sit in boxes, sit in hula hoops out in the playground, not communicating. Can you imagine a child of 4 or 5 years old not being able to go and hug his mates when he goes into school? That's the first bit of comfort you do. When you go to that school and you've got all them adults there staring at you, these so-called thing called teachers that you think are aliens, the first thing you do as a kid is you look around at all the other kids that are of your generation and your soul age, and you go and give them a hug. And why do you do that? Because it's confirming to you that you're all in that together and that you all need to stick together. And that's what you generally do as classmates. You get this bond with them, don't you? Sometimes you have a fight. That's the way it goes. But if they've stopped that, and that's your first emotion, is as creatures that we are, we should be loving beings, and that's what we do. We share, and you get a buzz from that. I'll give my missus a cuddle. I feel good for it, and she hopefully feels good for it. We're supposed to hug one another. We're not supposed to have all this no contact. And shame on Boris Johnson and all these others and they're just wishes. They're not law. There's all this social distancing is not a law, people. It's just that something they would ask you to do. It's not law. Boiler Boots Garson says can't do MSN anymore. Oh mate, don't blame you. Mainstream media, by the way, it's an abbreviation for not MSN, the email and all that. Mainstream media, and I think that a lot of people don't do mainstream no more. Genuinely, I think that this thing called internet, whatever platform we use, Trump has certainly seen the value of using social media, and he pretty much rules the waves on that and starts all the snowflakes up. His Twitter, he loves firing the truth bombs out there. He don't mess, he don't mince, and the rest of the world has a hissy fit. And people that are all trapped in their INSOC all think that he's a demon. And he might well be a demon. Someone said to me yesterday, he could be the Antichrist. He could be. Who knows? The Bible says it could be some slippery looking businessman that everyone falls in love with. Could be the deceiver. I don't know the man. I've never hugged him, never felt his energy. I know when I'm in the company of a good soul, and I know when I'm in the company of a bad soul. And I'm out of there. Trust me, if I come across anyone that I'm not feeling that vibe, I'm out. I'm reserved. I'm like, oh, he's up. Here we go. And we are what we are, people. We're cosmic. That's what we are. We're beings of light. We are gorgeous souls, and we're being ruled by devil-worshipping corporations that seem to think that their 2D paper system is God. I need to see your ID. Well, why? I'm stood here in front of you. You've got the living, breathing thing, man. That's the best version. It's not the 2D paperwork. It's the 3D. I'm the living 3D, man. The living soul. Well, how greater can you get than the living, breathing soul, right? I need to see your papers. I need to make sure you are essential. You must be essential worker. And it's sick. It's sick because the inclusion of one is the exclusion of another. All right, I could be an essential worker and go out there and swindle it. And oh yeah, no, you're right, you're an essential worker. But then by me doing that, it's taking you lot and everyone else out of the equation. I won't do that. All these labels, essential worker, key worker, they're just they're just labels. That's all. It's not real. Can never be real. Good old-fashioned revolution is needed, if you ask me. Chuck them out of Parliament. That could come. If they continue this swindle and if they continue to keep people locked up, it's not locked down, it's locked up, then that frustration will boil over. And as much as the police and them seem to think they've got this gig covered, don't think they're fully prepared for 65 million people turning on them. And we're seeing this in other countries. We're seeing them all get pushed. The police in Bulgaria have stood down. They stood with the people, left their government exposed. The people in America now, California and that, they're turning out with their arms. The amount of guns now that have been purchased in 2020 in America is off the radar. They know what's coming. Their people know what's coming. Tyranny's coming. So they went to a building the other day, to one of their public buildings, and their police stood down. The American police stood down. I was trying to bring the live feed to you all. I couldn't do that. I couldn't find it, but apparently it happened. And the police went, yeah, no, you have the constitutional right to do this. We're standing down. You can thresh it out with these people as long as it's all peaceful and that. We won't get involved. Because they're the tyranny. Once you get past the Rottweilers and you can stand the Rottweilers down, you can make the Rottweilers see common sense, then these people are exposed. Now, going back years ago when we had public buildings and public bodies, they were your buildings. They were yours. You paid for them. For all your little taxations and this, if it was public, it was open. That's why the courts have to be open 24 hours a day. The Royal Courts of Justice has to be a duty judge on there 24 hours a day. Why? Because they're compelled to. That's what they chose to do, public servitude, not public dictatorship. But all these things now, private corporations. This is railway land. These courts are ours. Well, hang on a minute. Whoa, what do you mean these courts are yours? These are our courts. You're in my court. Sorry, Judge, I thought this was my court, taxation and, being a man. I thought we were open, honest and transparent here. What's going on? Next thing you know, you're getting locked up. My mate Dean Renshaw had his eye socket knocked out last year. Had to have 6 hours surgery to put the work straight that the court staff had done. He got wrestled to the ground by 2 court security staff and pretty much give him a bad smash up. Dislocated his eye socket. These people almost went in. They're pure evil. They are satanic. And there is no justification what they're doing. They cannot justify. They just can't justify what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen. They really can't. They weren't open when we spent Christmas camping outside there a couple of years ago. They are. You can see a duty judge 24 hours a day. Graham Moore did it. Graham went up there. They nicked his Audi, Daddy Dragon. He was living it at the time. That's what they're doing. We've got a genocide going on in this country. And we've got the soft kill, ladies and gentlemen. You have to understand that we've got the soft kill. And although people turn their back and say, oh, no, it's not happening. Do you know, the irony is at some point that's probably going to be them in the future. I'm doing this because I don't want this to happen to me in the future. I don't want them genociding me, nicking my own, putting me homeless, making me in that vulnerable position. The homeless are being abused. The council used some lip service the other month. So we're getting all the homeless off the streets, putting them in hostels, giving them homes. They're all back out there now. Pure lip service, pure theatre. No intention of goodness at all in any way, shape or form from any of them. They're just dictatorial. But the public buildings should be yours. They should be. So anyway, Graham went to the Royal Courts. I think it was a bank holiday weekend, about 8 o'clock at night. He was in front of a duty judge in next to no time. And he said the Crown's nicked a man's property and the Crown has no authority to do that. And the judge says, you're absolutely right. She said, let me make a call. She said, well, what's your remedy? He said, my remedy is if you crash that car, you replace it with a new one. He said, they're about 35 grand right now. He said, no problem. She phoned up the borough commander, whoever had Graham's property at the time. And Graham got a phone call next morning, come and get your car. And he went and got his Audi back. So it can be done. And when you stand in your true equity, it's not about a piece of paper. It's about how you speak. States robbed the man. They rob you. They're just robbers, people. These councils are robbers. They're vagabonds. They're robbers. They're robbing from the sovereign people of this country. And that can only be tolerated for so long before we end up in disparity and bad times where we're like a third world nation, where our people are being beaten left, right and centre. And that's happening right now. We've got to be really, really careful. Token effort. It was completely a token effort, Donna. There's no goodness in these people. It's lip service. They see that the public outcry about the homeless. They tried to do something. It was lip service. Cool, we're going to get caught out here. Everyone went, oh, the homeless have all been taken care of. Yeah, lovely jubbly. Now they're all back out on the streets, all having to fend for themselves, being treated like feral rats. While the government eats caviar. And they all sit there and think their crap don't stink. Well, it does stink. Boris's shit stinks just like everybody else's, excuse my French. They're just men and women, people, that are subverting us all. Whereas they should be there just to protect our stuff. I'm so grateful for growing up in the 70s and 80s, mate. Adam Cox, let me tell you, you ain't the only one. I could not cope with this current world. Satan's in charge and it's in plain sight. Amen. I'm hearing reports that some country, I don't know if it's Egypt, I'll try and find it, they've just had 3 days of darkness. How true that is, I can't qualify that. Let me see if I can find the post. Or was it China? China, as Donald Trump just says. Eddie Powell. Eddie Powell is a buddy of mine. He's due to come on a live stream with me. He is a local councillor. He's a Christian man by faith. He's just put a post up. He used to knock about with Nigel Farage and all them. He was a UKIP councillor. Am I right or wrong in thinking that the British people have lost faith in everything they listen to or read? Either the government regulate, or even better, you just don't read the newspapers or watch news broadcasts. Any thoughts or suggestions? So we've got a man here that is a councillor having it right on the money. Am I right in thinking that the British people have lost faith in everything they listen and read? Either the government regulate, or even better, you don't read newspapers or watch news broadcasts. That's where everyone's going there. I don't know many people that buy newspapers anymore. I don't know many people that listen to the drivel on the radio, the news on the radio, apart from laughing at it. And I don't know many people that watch the BBC News without sitting there thinking it's Coco the Clown doing it. Everyone is tuning away from that vibration and coming into a newer, cleaner, more decent vibration. And I say hallelujah for that. I really do. I've had enough, mate. Got well triggered, and I don't know how I kept my thing together. Just this video, we need to help our English roses. Was you there, Donna? Was you there? Or did you go to London? We knew how that was going to pan out, because look, you can't go on a social media platform and say, oh, we're all going up the new Scotland Yard and we're going to be doing this and that, because you've put the cart before the horse, and all the alarm bells go off at Scotland Yard. Oh, we've got a load of people that care about their country coming up to do whatever. That's why the police was out there. They knew they knew everyone was going. You can't do that. You can't. You've got to organise a bit better than that. You really, people, we need to do this another way. We really do. If I had a cunning plan, and you was to stick it on my tail and call me a fox, there is no way on this earth I'd be sharing it out on a social media platform. I would be congregating with people. I would say, right, there's going to be a meeting at such and such, and I'd send it. First of all, I'd get all your email details. I would just send you some private email saying, fancy little meet at so and so. You go, yeah, we'll have a coffee there, Starbucks, wherever. And we're all going, 1,000 of us all around the country too far. We're going to have a meeting, I don't know, out in the middle of a wood somewhere, out in a forest. I don't know. Things you have to do nowadays. And then we'd organise that way. And then we'd just go and do it and no one would know. But the minute you put it all up on a social media platform, we're going to go, you're doomed to failure. You're absolutely doomed to failure. And you can't think otherwise because these people, they check everything. If you get on your phone now and ring up your mum, I've had enough. That dirty Queen. The minute you say Queen, bomb, all the GCHQ shit kicks into operation. You say certain keywords, key, bomb, this, that, bomb. Even now, me saying Queen and bomb, now all the GCHQ stuff's going to be going. My mate went in there a few years ago, Toby Lee. What he found was his own servers and routers. The IP addresses was all linked. He traced the IP address and it was all to this building in London. It was a GCHQ building up near one of the bridges in London. So him being him, having the balls of John Wayne, he goes bowling in there. And the next thing, he's asking all these questions and the building's gone on a code red lockdown. He's got blokes round him with side shooters and he's going, what are you playing at? Get off with your guns. And they say, what are you doing in here? He said, I want to know why you lot are monitoring my IP addresses. You're out of order. You shouldn't be doing this. And mate, he just don't care. He is, to me, he's the John Wayne in Kent. He's proper lively. And he's funny. So, GCHQ, you say all these words, bomb, and they're picking up the trigger on it. It's funny. Now, I sat with a guy that was ex-MI6 a couple of years ago. I did a talk round at Dalston. There was about 150 people there. And I'd done my talk and I was sat at the back listening to everyone else that was there. Tom Crawford was there. Guy Taylor, God bless him, sadly passed away. And this guy come and sat up at the back with me and he started chatting. He said, blah, blah, blah. He said, you're Dave Witcher. I went, yeah, well, what's that? I'm just me. I don't. And he said, I'm ex-MI6 and that. He said, finally, mate. I'm like, ooh. I said, am I going to end up in a body bag like dog tin of chum? And that he went, nah. He said, well, you got to understand, Dave. He said, within the MI6, he said, and all these other factions, there's good souls and bad souls. He said, you've got the white hats and the dark hats. He said, a bit like checkerboard on the police cap. And I'm sure there's good people in the old bill. Yet to see them. Show up. Whenever you want to show up, show up. Feel free. Now's the time. Now's the time to show up, right? If you're going to show up now. So he said, there's good and bad in this thing. He said, but actually, he said, people like you, we watch. He said, but we would never harm you guys because you're putting us to shame. You want your country back to goodness. He said, and we all want that. He said, the majority of us in there that want and doing all this stuff. He said, it's not happening. So, yeah, it was an interesting conversation we had. So, look, if there's good coppers, yeah, look, I've just said Queen and bomb and the connection's gone. How's that? And we've been on an hour and 8 minutes. It's funny, isn't it? By the way, Queenie, I'm not interested in you or bombing anybody. Apart from truth bombs. Oh, we're back. I do love a truth bomb, didn't you? So yeah, that's where we're at. So we need to, if you want to do and achieve something, you have to be as cunning as a fox. You really do. But to go on a social media platform and say, we're going to, mate, you're going to get twisted up because they love twisting you up. The way they dragged Nathan out yesterday in single. See, that's what they do. There's a group of people, they pull one out, they singleise him. They want you all to kick off because you dragged one of their. I know all their signs. I know all their bullshit. They're evil people. They are purely evil. The police have turned evil. It's sad. It's sad. They never used to be. They used to be nice people. When they was under common law, they were decent. Trust me, they were decent. I'd have trusted my life with a copper back in the early 70s, no problem. If he said, right, Sonny, where'd you live? Bomb, he said, come in, I'm taking you home. I would have had no bad thoughts in my mind. I would have thought, this man's looking after me. The big tall ones. I remember them walking around with their uniforms was so immaculate. I'll take you home. Is this your child, man? Yeah. Where's he been? I've just caught him up, so-and-so, righto. So I'd get indoors and my mum would give me a clip round here and say, I told you not to go out round here. that constable had to bring you home. I remember them days. They were good days. They were good days. Them coppers taught me the difference between these mother truckers now. If I hadn't been the age I'm at, I wouldn't remember them times. And that's the problem. The youngsters don't remember them constables. They don't remember them. They just know this horrible antagonistic officer. And the officer of the police force, we need to get rid of. And they need to do it as well. They need to stand up. So we need, if you're going to formulate and come together as a nation and as a country, you need to do it with a little bit of savviness. You can't go on a social media platform calling for a rally or a group unless there's thousands of you. Now, I was up in London last March when the European Union thing, March 19th, 22nd, whenever it was. And it was a red hot day. I mean, I couldn't believe in March the sun was, it was just, I got sunburn. I come home, I had dehydration. I was frazzled. And I'm stood around that parliament, and there must have been about 80,000 people. There were bodies all over the bridge, all going up to Westminster Abbey, all on the green outside Parliament. And there wouldn't have been a copper there that day that would have dared said, you can't do that. You can't stand there. You can't jump all over Winston. You can't jump in the fountains. They wouldn't have done that because they just didn't have any authority or power to do it. Because when you all come together in massive, massive, large numbers, and this is the only way you're ever going to do this, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, the only way you're ever going to formulate and get your country back to decency is to all come together, to stop arguing, to put your differences to one side and stand side by side with your brothers and sisters and say, we've had enough. God damn it. The only way. That particular day, I could have pretty much done what I've just said. Jumped in a fountain, stood on top of Winston. The old Bill would have just gone, oh, look at him, he's having a nice time. Instead of wanting to drag you off and cuff you and mace you when you're just there on your Jack Jones. And that makes them cowards. Because a tyrant should be a tyrant 24 hours a day, not just when it suits them, when they think they've got the majority on their side. Oh, there's 5 of us, we've got weapons. Let's go and bust that man's zip. Yeah. Great analogy of this was when Aaron Lambo, Aaron the bodybuilder, got a body like Adonis, got a massive following on social media platforms. He got a slap by a guy in uniform, and he called this constable PC dickhead number 1. And he started getting a load of T-shirts printed up with PC dickhead number 1 written on them. And people were buying them like hotcakes because they thought it was really funny. And there's people walking around that town centre with their T-shirts on going, oh, yeah, and someone's going, you got a T-shirt on there, PC dickhead number 1, come on. That copper went off. He went off duty. He had to go off with emotional distress. He had to come off the job. He couldn't cope with it. Oh, they're calling me, because everyone's walking down the road going, saying, oh, PC ticket number 1, all right, my son. Done his head in. He went off with stress, sickness, illness. This big strapping copper, PC ticket number 1. Can't make this up. Complete tyrant. Give Aaron a slap round the back, right? What did Aaron do? When Aaron knew that PC dickhead number 1 had gone off with stress and sickness, Aaron said, right, people, listen, no more. We've had a laugh. Leave the geezer alone now. And people did. And he went back to work. But he won't never forget that, because that's the power that Aaron held. Now, Aaron's mate has just been in court, in a family court, trying to deal with one of his children. Now, he's got 2 children from another partnership, civil, marital, whatever it be. And this particular one, the judge has turned around and said to him, right, if you want to see your child, and your children ain't your children, they're your property, by the way. Property means proper to man. Look up the word. We'll have a look at the word in the dictionary in a minute. In my old 18th century dictionary, we'll look up the word property. Proper to man, right? And this judge said, if you want to see your child, that we own, the state own your child, by the way. You sign and give us authority via the birth certificate. We own that fucker. Excuse my French, I'm getting passionate now. And he said, you've got this massive social media platform. He said, we want you to take it down. You take that down. So it's plea bargain. This judge is plea bargaining with this guy. And he went, hang on a minute. You're telling me if I take my social media platform down and stop talking the way I'm talking, I can see my child, right? He said, yeah. If not, he said, you're going to take my child away and say I'm a danger to that child. He said, yeah. He said, but I've still got 2 other children. He said, so the law's flawed here. The law can't stand. He said, because if I'm a danger to this child, I'm a danger to the other 2, right? He said, you ain't making orders to stop me seeing them other 2. That's what goes on. That's what's going on in these family courts, these institutions, these paedophilic institutions. And everyone in this country, oh, Dave, don't make a fuss. It's all right. They're all right. No, don't worry about it, Dave. No, they're lovely people. Yeah, they're lovely people, all right. Demons. Donna Proctor, you can't do the whole one man's trash is another man's treasure anymore. If you get caught taking from a skip, you get done for theft by finding. There's irony, they push recycling. There you go. Eddie Goldtooth, I met our local constable about 20 years ago in a petrol station. He recognised me from a child. I shook his hand. Boom. They were part of the communities back then. They were part of the people. Their wives used to dust them shoulders and them lapels off with their little suede brushes years ago and say, you go out and you protect the community today. You make sure no harm comes to people. You make sure no skullduggery is going on. When they were constables, they were pretty beautiful people. They never really used to talk to you. They'd walk around. Unless they see you commit a crime, they weren't even allowed to talk to you. Their superiors would have come down on them like Mother Teresa on a blister. They weren't allowed to talk to you. A constable, when he was first placed into his office many, many years ago when the police were formed, we'll have a look at Robert Peel as well at some point. And the ministers at the time all said that this is really, really dangerous. How do we know that the police won't turn into a police state and a totalitarian dictatorship? Boom. And Peel tried to get that through many times, Robert Peel. Sir Robert Peel tried to get the police through quite a few times. And in the end, the MPs yielded because he come out with all these guarantees. Oh, well, we're going to protect the people. Back then, we had a thing called the thief takers. The thief takers were people that used to go around and get kids to go and nick stuff and break into homes that were worth a lot of dollar back then in the time. And the thief takers would take their wares to this individual and they would sell them back to the owners. So they'd stolen and then they found them, and these high-profile people with stature would sell these wares back to the owners. Unbelievable. This country's been built on crime and theft and pestilence for centuries. So we're in a police state, right? And then ministers at the time, they stopped Robert Peel many times. And they had these massive debates of, oh, we've got to be careful here. Before that, they had people of the watch. We've had all these things from history. But this has got to stop. This totalitarian tiptoe that we're in has got to stop. And the point is this, right? We don't have to be brave. We don't have to be heroes. We just have to come together in commonality. All right? Road sweepers, plumbers, millionaires all stand side by side and say, well, we've had enough of this rubbish now. This is our country. This is our inheritance. What are you doing? All right. Now, I said earlier, you've got your ecclesiastical deed poll and your evidence of life. You're not fighting with anyone. If you go and serve them at your lower courts, get them filed in, get them on the master file, you won't be paying no more income tax, no more council tax, no nothing, because you become king. You become king of your own world. And that's where we need to be. When we get the first bad cops as kid, we painted his lawn pink. There you go. That's what we used to do. But this Cassie overdid it on the Sherry Lol. Oh, bless her. Oh, she did, yes. Cassie's blocked me. Bless her heart, love it a bit. She picked a spoil with someone. She didn't like what they said, and she said to me, "You got to fight my battles for me." And I went, "Well, I don't even know what you're chatting about. I don't know what's going on. You should know." I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I don't." I said, "And you want me to go and pick a spoil with a man because he's upset, yeah? Yeah, you're big enough to fight your own battles, mate." And she went, "Oh, but I'm done with you." I'm like, "Oh dear." So that's what we're up against, bless her. And I love her dearly. I thought she was a good friend of mine. But she tried to push her stuff onto me, and I'm like, I ain't doing that. If you want to get yourself into a battle and a spoil, mate, you're big enough to sort that one out. I would never ask anyone to sort my spoils out. Not a chance. If I started and made a spoil, I'd have to. It's down to me to sort that spoil out, and But anyway, that's that. But she did have quite a few sherries that day. Davy Wilson, hello, gorgeous. Donna Proctor, I was about to look after my oldest two, but kept my youngest free. Don't make no sense. Yeah. Oh, I'm a danger. So I'm a danger to this child, but the other two I'm not, right? These family cults are sick, man. They're sick. They're sick, twisted, satanic places. Why? Because there's devils in there. We're going to find out about China, won't we, in these 3 days of darkness? I think it was China. Someone just put a post up this morning to China, or one of these countries just said 3 days of darkness. Now that's scriptural, mate. Donna Proctor, exactly. Yeah, we just I can't fight someone else's battles. I will not get into an agreement and an agreement with people, because why? That's fruitless. Oh, what's the point? I'm not going to cast my seed on stony ground. I want to pot it on fertile soil. So here we got Vancouver police attack a skater boy, 15-year-old, and almost choked him to death because he dare go out. They've choked a 15-year-old kid off to death. A skater boy. They got his arms up his back, just about to break his arm. I can't watch this stuff. They're just evil devils. They are absolutely evil devils. And it gets my passion going, because this shouldn't be happening. We're not their meat people. We're not their slaves. We're really not their slaves. We've got to sort this out. Dominic Cummings, he's just been on a 260-mile journey, and he stopped at service stations, did Dominic Cummings, one of these government sinister ministers, putting people at risk of coronavirus. I can't sleep safely at night. No, my government is doing everything in its power to keep me safe from a virus. The Germans used to love keeping you safe. Why are you doing that to that individual? We're doing it to keep you safe. Oh, right. It looks a good gig, man. It looks really good. I'm sticking with that. Yeah, I'm in SOC. I'm with you, boys. I'm with you. Didn't end very well, did it? Most of them got assassinated. Goebbels, Goering. A lot of them got given the option to suicide themselves. Bob's your uncle. Because, like, when Goering and all that had been arrested and captured, they'd have been strip searched, no doubt, and had all their bits took off. They wouldn't have had cyanide pills and that left on them. The Allies weren't that stupid, surely. So they would have been offered what do you want? Easy out, we'll make it look like you commit suicide, or do you want to face a firing squad? I think some of them faced firing squads, didn't they? That was the preferred method back then. So, yeah. We've been here before in history. I don't know who's coming to rescue England now, apart from the English themselves, all the people that live in this country, before everyone goes into an hissy fit. And that's what I love. You get all these people jumping into hissy fit. Oh, you said the English. Well, why not? What are you getting triggered for? Stop getting triggered. Come together. Dean Renshaw, my man, got his eye dislocated by 2 court staff put up Liam Jones. Last night experienced the same police brutality and corruption that our country and the rest of the world is currently suffering under. I hosted 5 people over for lunch and bevies plus 4 that lived on the property. Restrictions we met. We planned to end the evening at 10 o'clock. 8 p.m. police officers walked into my neighbour's property, climbed over their back fence, hovering over my backyard, and started questioning. I said we have 5. Basically, it ends up the coppers are bashing the granny out of them. The cop ran up to me with aggression, holding a pepper spray can to my face on his own property. He told me to back off. I said, what do you mean? You come up to me, aggravated me, holding a can up against my face. I stepped back away and he still came closer and shoved me. Next thing I knew, the officer was behind him. He twisted my arms up, putting cuffs on. Without being told my rights, shouldn't have to be told your rights. You should know your rights. I'm under arrest. As I was being ragdolled around, I was kicking my legs, wriggling my body and trying to move into a position where my arms wouldn't be broken as the police officers kept pulling and twisting me. Whilst completely immobilised, knee to my head on the concrete. See, this is a lovely tactic they love, isn't it? Knee to my head on the concrete, a knee on my ribs, a knee on my legs. I was still pepper sprayed. My wrist is sprained and it feels like it might have been cracked. Cracked ribs, cut and bruises here and there on my face and arms. They deliberately kept coming back to beat me whilst I was on the ground. In their statement, they claim they shoved my face on the ground for COVID-19 restrictions, just keeping you safe. Whilst I was pinned to the ground, another officer was screaming in my face with a spit spray out of his mouth. These guys act in pure anger. They also claimed in their statement that they shoved me over because I breached social distancing measures, but I was never within 1.5 metres of anyone until they come up to me. Whilst on the ground, I witnessed a cop shove my girlfriend twice and then threw her into the gutter. That infuriated me. I yelled and screamed that they were just assaulting my girlfriend, and I copped some more knees for that. So whilst he's on the ground in cuffs and being pepper sprayed, they're kneeing and kicking him in the ribs and that. Yeah, do you think, is this acceptable to you? Certainly not to me. Another female friend was assaulted in a similar manner. 4 police cars showed up. I lost count of how many officers were around yelling at my friends, provoking them and claiming that they're the ones confronting the police. By the way, this is just wishes. This isn't law. There's no law that says that you have to socially distance. CPS have come out and said that. CPS said, well, it's just the minister's wishes. This isn't law. There were some bullies, Donna. They're devils. They're all going to hell, by the way. Yeah, they are going to hell, right? Because I'm a strong soul and a strong spirit. I'm going to send them to hell. They're going to hell. Trust me. I will make sure personally, my soul will make sure that their souls burn in the lake of fire. Trust me, I'm going to make sure that they burn in the lake of fire. They're evil. I don't recognise them as brothers and sisters of my country no more. And whilst everyone goes in sock and they're not paying attention, this is happening. I spent the next 5 hours shivering in a cell, drained my face in the sink. They sprayed. The spray kills. I called for help a couple of times, but no one really cared. Around 1 or 2, I was finally called in for an interview. I was read out by the police statements, which complete twisted and false, but I won't dive into that. I'll remain silent for the interview and didn't answer any questions. They told me a superior officer will analyse the case and whether the body cameras were turned on. I may face charges, drunk and disorderly in his own home, drunk and disorderly in your own home. Nor was I drunk, and neither was I breathalyzed. Resisting arrest. I was never informed at the time that I was being arrested. If a cop had come in and started doing that to me in my house and started doing that to my missus, yeah, I mean, see, here's the thing, right? Your soul has switches. Now, you all know the difference between right and wrong, and clearly this is wrong. This is harrowing, people. Harrowing. And you know that when you and your family are coming under attack, that if you have a decency about you, you are going to want to do something to protect your loved ones, right? We know that coppers have been stealing children from hospitals, from women for years now with machine guns. They go in with machine guns and they take children away and they give them to the social services. And I fail to reason why many people in this country just can't see this. There was no mentions about the way they were treating me, speaking to me. You know, go to hell, constables. Go and rot in hell, because that's where you're going. Remember, Corinthians chapter 2, verse the 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 10 says, every soul shall bow before judgment, right? And that's before Christ. And everyone will have to answer for what they did in the body, whether good or bad. That's it. And they will answer. They will answer, not to us, but to the higher power. They will answer. That's why I'm saying they're going to hell. We're going to make sure that these people, their souls go to hell because they're evil, wicked scumbags. The way the lockdown has been enforced, the way the authority abuse their power and disregard our rights, the way the media implements fear on the point where people have to be call the cops on someone if they see them having a little fun because they're inside jealous, alone, depressed. It's disgraceful, complete corruption, complete tyranny, and I'm sick of everyone falling for this kind of manipulation, forgetting about their rights. In a state of emergency, with constant scare tactics and persuasive techniques being blasted in your face every day, people look to those in power to tell you how to survive, what to do, and how to live, and they become the pure control. It gets worse when your leaders become the criminals who are not going to turn, who you're going to turn to. We are people together, have power in total unity. Our voices will be heard. Everyone needs to wake up and unite with each other, understand where the corruption lies, and start making a stand for ourselves. Please feel free to share this around. The more these things get out and raise more awareness to corruption, leading to future positive changes to our society. The video evidence of the beatings that this man is just receiving from the police is in his own garden. I'm going to share that. We're sharing that on my Facebook profile, David Witcher. So if you zoom over there, you'll see that pop up. And the time is now 10:27. So you will see that. So that's our current state of affairs. That's our current country. That's our current police farce, which you all seem to love. The majority of these countries, oh no, they wouldn't do anything bad to us. Just wait till that jackboot's in the back of your head, ladies and gentlemen. Just wait. Driving down the road, mind your own business, got a bit of Patsy Cline on, singing away. The old bill don't like something you do. Next thing you pulled over, Bob's your uncle, you're under the same rule. You've got that jackboot in the back of your head, firmly fixed on the tarmac. Well done, congratulations. At that point, you will soon realise that all is not as it appears to be. And that realisation is getting greater and greater and greater every single day. Corona was a plan for a baby boom for social services. Yeah, maybe right. Drunk and disorderly in your own home, Donna says. Yeah, they're crackpots. I did say the lunatics are taking over the asylum. What you bind on earth, you bind in heaven. Absolutely right, Craig. Absolutely right. No, I'm a man that reads scripture, and we're in peril. And I just hope more and more and more people do see that nowadays. To be fair, it's haunting. It's just absolutely haunting that these people would seem to think that they have the power and authorities to do that to us. We have descended into a Fourth Reich. You will do what the state says, and if you don't, we're going to send our mercenaries out there that are getting 30 grand a year to half kill you. Why did you beat that man? I was getting paid to do it. Yeah, I'll get paid. I was getting my 30 silver pieces. Well, constables, I'll give you 30 silver fucking pieces, and we'll put them in your pockets. You can go and do whatever. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But people tolerate it. People go, "Oh, no, it's all right, Dave. Don't worry about it. No, it's all right. You know, it's not happening to me. I'm fine. Look at me and me Tesla." Peeps, I've got to go. I'm going to go and have some breakfast. It is top of the hour. Come in about half hour's time. It's 10:29, Sunday the 24th of May. I want to thank you all, each and one of you individually, for tuning in today's show. I'll probably come back to you tonight. We'll have the studio lights going. Maybe have a little slim gin. You don't know. I might be getting a bit frisky. But I want to thank every single one of you for helping this channel grow, for joining, liking and subscribing. Press the bell button for further notifications and stay tuned. Let's rip the knob off. But the message I want to say before we go, we need to come together. The good souls need to bind together. The good souls need to wake up, fix up, be sharp, and we can achieve anything in peace, love and harmony. We can do this. It's so simple to do, but we need, as a people, large numbers, and we need to come together. All right? I want you to remember that. And if we do that, we might have a chance of saving this country. But if we don't, you've just heard and listened to the tyranny that we've descended into. I love you all. Stay safe. Stay blessed. I'll see you soon.